Welcome to a new Daily Top AskReddit video. Today's topic:
what was ruined because of 9/11s? Quick airline travel. People would often show up 30 minutes or so before a flight and be able to board on time. Remember non-passengers getting to the gate to see people off or meet him off the plane. It's funny how many Friends episodes show their age at this concept. Among other shows, of course. Chandler having to board a flight to the Middle East to show Janice he's actually leaving, etc. Turn of the millennium optimism. Kinda funny how COVID did the same thing. I thought 2020 was gonna be such a cool year. Right. I always thought the human race would truly unite once we were challenged as a species. Something like a disease killing millions would be enough of a threat to put our differences to the side, even if just for a little while. When in reality, it was just used as a means to expose our division, and somewhat make it worse. Watching The Lord of the Rings. You might notice that the destruction of the Barad-dûr, Sauron's tower, at the end isn't a particularly epic special effect. The thing kind of keels over sideways and then explodes. The Barad-dûr is a tall, thin tower nearly a mile high in Tolkien's world. The special effects team at Weta Workshop had its collapse all planned and modeled out and then realized with horror that it looked exactly like the collapse of the Twin Towers in New York. Remember that the final movie came out in 2003 and the SFX team were working of the effects in MID 2002, only months after the attack. Too soon for sure. So a guy named Gray Horsefield, great name, took home a workstation over the 2002 holiday break and reanimated the entire tower collapse himself so it didn't look so depressingly familiar. The final result looks fine as an effects shot, but it doesn't get much screen time and it's not particularly realistic. We can all see that it doesn't look realistic because, unfortunately, we've all seen what a tall tower looks like when it collapses. Wow, that's such a neat history story. And kudos to that dude. Maybe they can use the original modeling when they make the inevitable, pro-orc, cut of the trilogy. You know, where the nasty hobbitses and men of the West commit genocide against the races they believe are inferior. There was a petition to rename the two towers. But thankfully the studio declined to. Thank God the studio stuck to their guns on that one. People overblow 9/11 way too often. Yes, it was terrible, but we don't need to rename, reshoot, censor, and re-edit everything that looks like two tall buildings. Especially literature that was around way before 9/11. Casually driving over the border from Canada. We used to go to the US all the time to buy stuff or just hang out. It was no big deal back then. You didn't even need it. You got more of a hassle coming back because the border guard wanted to catch you trying to bring stuff back without paying duty. Now it takes much longer unless you have Nexus, but kids, teenagers, don't usually have theirs. I don't think my kids will ever head down to go to the mall for instance. Kinda sucks. The US feels more foreign now. Exactly this. I grew up near the border with New York State. And my family had property south of the border we'd spend spring, fall weekends and all summer at. Before 9/11 going through the border was never more than, where are you going? And, anything to declare. 3/4 of the time they never even looked at our IDs or gave it a super quick glance. You didn't need a passport. After 9/11, crossing became worse and worse. They'd have armed guards standing beside the car as they searched the trunk every single time. Asked tons more questions, scrutinized IDs. They'd pull my dad in for additional questioning because he was born in the US. So had American birth certificate. But had lived in Canada since he was 12. And some of these were Border Patrol folks who saw us every week for over a decade. We knew them by name. We gave them gifts when we closed up the place for the season. I know it's not the fault of the people working Border Patrol, they're just doing what they're told to do. Eventually they started asking for passports too, which my grandparents didn't have and didn't want to go and get. So in 2005 we sold the place, and I haven't been back to the States since. National news coverage. The crawler only appeared during major events or simultaneous big stories. It never went away after 9/11. Breaking news became huge after 9/11. For a short time, it was reserved for stuff that was actually big. Now it's like, breaking news. Kim Kardashian goes braless at gala. Tune in for 24/7 coverage of Kim's lack of coverage. Once Obama took office, Fox News ran Terror Alert elevated on their news ticker at the bottom of the screen. They did that for 8 years straight, all of Obama's presidency. When Trump took office they abruptly stopped. No coincidence there, right? Fair and balanced. The US got rid of that doctrine for its media decades ago and it shows. Lots of people's birthday celebrations. Was in class that day with a girl whose birthday it was and everyone remarked how it'd be forever changed. The girl's name was Katrina. This one's brutal. My ex-husband's B-day is 9/11. Forever ruined. Nah. Celebrate it like you would normally. Not celebrating your husband's B-day would be playing into the terrorists' hands. Edit. Well, ex-husband, but hopefully you get my point. air travel, civil liberties, global perception of the US, and the Twin Towers. 9/11 didn't ruin our global reputation. We did that one ourselves. Nothing about the Iraq War or a 20-year occupation of Afghanistan was inevitable in the wake of 9/11. I can't overemphasize the amount of love the world showed us after 9/11. We completely squandered that support by staring a war with the wrong people over bullshit lies.